guys, welcome back to vllo. Today we are making this Hope Macaulay inspired cropped cardigan with puff sleeves. If you guys want to follow along, all the materials are linked in the description below, so make sure to go check that out. Enjoy the video! My favorite part about this project is actually the giant needles, which makes this project super fun and super fast and easy. Today I'll be using the Red Heart Grande yarns, which are 78% acrylic and 22% wool. They are each 150 grams, 42 meters, and gauge 7 jumbo. Today I'll be using 2 sets of needles, a 20mm and 25mm. This is the diagram for the back and front pieces. The good thing is that you can knit the whole thing all at once. If you would like to adjust the size, you can always increase the stitches this way and this way to make it longer or wider, but this is the size we are going to do today. First off, we're starting with the gray section where we're alternating knit and purl for the first 10 rows. And then we're going to put this section on hold with a piece of yarn and then continue on to the green section, where we're going to alternate knit and purl for the next 20 rows, cast off 2, and then continue for another 10 rows, switch the color to pink, and then continue for another 20 rows. Then we're going to come back to this side, alternate knit and purl for 20 rows, cast off 2, and then repeat the same process as this side. Now we just have this left, and we're going to go ahead and sew this part together. We will do a demonstration. These are the diagrams for the 2 sleeves. They are exactly the same, but these are just the colors I'll be using today. You can choose any colors you would like. For alternate knit and purl for the first 10 rows, decrease 4 on each side, alternate for the next 6 rows, decrease 3 on each side, switch the color, and then continue for the rest of the sleeve. And then do the exact same thing to make the other sleeve. The only difference is you can choose whatever colors you would like. This is where the sleeves will be attached to the body. I wanted them to be extra puffy, so that's why it's 28 stitches. You can always decrease the amount of stitches if you would like the sleeve to be less puffy. Here's a small demonstration of how to do the front and back pieces. Right now, I am casting on these stitches. This is the bottom gray area, and this is the first row. You will need to cast on 24 stitches, but for demonstration purposes, I will only be doing 10. Referring to the diagram on the right, the first row is knitting. This is how the first row should look after knitting. Then we're going to turn your work and start the second row by doing a purl stitch. After finishing the row of purl stitch, we're going to turn your work and then continue with the knitting for the third row. After finishing this row, continue alternating knit and purl until you reach 10 rows. After finishing the gray part, it's time to move on to the green yarn. So tie a slip knot, and this is how we will change the color from gray to green. The first row is knitting, so we're going to knit the first half. Here I have 5 loops. Once I'm finished knitting half with the green, I'm going to put the other half on hold. You can use a pin or a piece of yarn. I'm going to turn my work and continue with the purl stitch according to the diagram on the right. Continue turning your work and alternating between knit and purl for the next 20 rows. After alternating for 20 rows, it is time to turn your work and cast off 2. For demonstration purposes, I will only be casting off 1 stitch. So do the first stitch like a normal purl stitch, and the second one as a normal purl stitch as well. And then take your needle to cast off the first loop over the second loop. Now you should only have 1 loop left on your needle. Continue with the regular purl stitch for the rest of the row. This is what it should look like after casting off 1 stitch. Continue following the green side all the way to the pink front side. Then we're going to go on the other side and repeat the exact same process for the pink side. This is how it should look when the front and back are finished. Make sure to sew the green and pink sides together. I tried on what we have so far, and I put little stitch markers on where I would like the shoulder pieces and under the arm pieces to lie, so there are 4 stitch markers in total, and then I folded it up so the stitch markers line up. I finished the first sleeve. I really like how the puff effect turned out, and now we're going to be starting on the second sleeve. So turn the piece, then tie a slip knot with the color you would like to start your sleeve with. I went ahead and got the needle and stuck it where the under the arm marker was, and this is how we pick up the stitches. For each stitch there are 2 loops, so how we're going to do it is we're going to take the outermost loop, reach through, grab the yarn, and then go through both the loops, grab the yarn, and that's how you'll have 2 loops per stitch. To continue this process all the way until we reach the last stitch marker. Here I have reached the last stitch marker, so I'm going to go ahead and turn my work, and then start with the purl stitch all the way down. When the entire row is complete, go ahead and turn your work and then start knitting for the entire row. This is how it should look after knit and purl 2 rows. After 10 rows, now it's time to decrease. So I'm going to knit like normal for the first one, then take 2 and then knit both those loops together. And then we're going to continue alternating, knitting 1 and knitting 2 down the entire row. This is how we will decrease. Once we're finished with that row, turn your work, and then we're going to follow the diagram and just do the regular purl stitch all the way down. Now it's time to do the tightest part of the sleeve around the wrist, so I'm going to change to our 20mm needle while decreasing and changing the color at the same time. So we're going to insert the 20mm needle into the 25mm needle, and we are going to use the pink yarn to knit. Again, we are going to use a decreasing technique where we knit 1 loop and then 2 loops together, alternating between knitting 1 loop and then knitting 2 loops all the way down. From there, turn your work, and then follow the diagram and continue with the purl stitch. Now we should be using both 20mm needles. We're going to follow the diagram by alternating knit and purl all the way down. Now it's time to cast off, so we're just going to knit the first stitch and second stitch normally, and then we're going to bring the first stitch over the second stitch, so there's only 1 loop left. Continue this process down the entire row, so at the very end we will only have 1 loop left. And this is how the sleeve should look after it is properly cast off. Now it is time to sew together the two sides of the cardigan as well as the sleeve that we just knit. We're going to invert the sleeve inside out to sew the pieces together. We're going to use a 25mm crochet hook to sew the pieces together. So reach through one loop of each side of the sleeve and pull through the yarn and then pull through that loop. Again, one loop of each side, pull the yarn through those two, and then pull that through the remaining loop on your hook. Continue this process until the entire sleeve is sewn up. Now that everything is sewn up, our final step is to add a nice border around the neck and the sleeves of the cardigan. So we're going to start off with a slip knot, and we are going to single crochet around the entire cardigan. This step is optional, but it will hold the cardigan together nicely. I will show you two cardigans at the end, one with a border and one without. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. I hope you guys love this tutorial on how to make this amazing sweater. Hopefully you can make your own. All the materials are linked down in the description, so make sure to go check them out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and see you next time.